Hey y'all, I'm Jerica Brechae and welcome to The Hearth. So, just want to talk a little bit about what The Hearth is because I intend for this to be a sort of welcome, introductory, reintroduction video, depending on where it's posted. So, The Hearth is a special space and hopefully a communal space because that's what I intend for it to be. But it is this special, one may even say sacred space for those of us that are seekers, deep feelers, deep thinkers, and meaning makers of life. It's for those of us who are trying to understand life more deeply. We're asking life's biggest questions and we're questioning who we are and what we believe in and why we believe in the things that we believe in. We're trying to figure out how to make meaning from the life experiences that we have had and just trying to find some answers in this thing that we call life. Please forgive me if this is like all over the place. I'm trying to remain authentic to what I really want this space to be. I'm hoping that it's translating through the screen here, while also trying to be somewhat niche and specific about what this space is for and sort of like what you can expect from me and what the content that I will be sharing with you guys will look like. So bear with me. So let's talk a little bit about why I call this space the hearth. I chose the hearth for this space because the hearth is a place where fire is held, right? It's like whatever little container, whether it's a lantern or like a fireplace, it's that space where the fire is held. And fire can be symbolic of transformation. And I don't mean that like in a really cliche kind of way, but just in like a phoenix rising from the ashes kind of way, if you know what I mean. Traditionally, the hearth is known as the center of the home. It is this warm and cozy meeting space, a gathering, if you will, that provides nourishment and light. I mean, fire is light, right? So I'm really hoping that this space will be just a warm and cozy, heart-centered little corner of the internet where we like-minded individuals can gather around and have our questions and seek some answers and contemplate life's lessons and give meaning to these things while also not having all the answers and trying to figure it all out. So in this space, I will be sharing it'll be different modalities. Sometimes I'll do a video like what you're seeing now. Sometimes there'll be just audio reflections because you got to do it when you're in the mood to do it, you know? So sometimes it'll just be like an audio upload. I may do some sort of post or like writing blog entry maybe. And then there'll be times where I'll share spiritual tools and study notes from my own journey. You know, things that I am learning and questioning and making meaning of as I'm reflecting on my personal spiritual journey, my spirituality. We'll be talking about philosophy, faith, deconstruction, and reconstruction, as well as self-discovery. So this will be a place of exploration. You definitely got to come to this place with a sense of curiosity, you know, a wonder, you know, just sort of, I ponder, I contemplate about that. You know, that's what we're going to be doing over here. So, you know, I really just wanted to give myself room to sort of think out loud and reflect in a really authentic and honest way, and to be able to share those reflections with others, as well as any tools or teachings or techniques that I have explored along the way, and just sort of want to share and see if other people are interested, whether you're just sort of watching off in a distance somewhere and maybe you might, you know, give me a like, or, you know, you just watch because it brings you some sort of solace and comfort. That's fine. But for those of you that want to be a little bit more interactive, I'm hoping that this space can be communal in that way. I'm thinking that the main platforms are going to be either YouTube or Patreon or a combination of both. So That's the goal, at least for right now. So if you are someone who thinks deeply, you feel deeply, you have some of life's big questions, and you're trying to sort of cultivate a life that feels a little bit more honest and authentic and true to you, then I think you'll really enjoy it here. I think that this will be a space where you can find some community and find somebody who's like-minded, or at least somewhat interested in the things that you're interested in. And like I said, that's going to be a whole bunch of different things, you guys. But I guess if I had to narrow it down, it's mainly this journey of trying to make meaning out of our life experiences, and then also navigating spirituality, spiritual spaces, faith, and philosophy. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to share a little bit about myself, sort of as a soft introduction. I won't go into my whole story in this particular video, but just sort of want to do like a soft intro to sort of lay the foundation as to what inspired me to create this space. I've been on a spiritual journey for about 10 years now, probably closer to like 13 to 14 years if I'm being specific. And a lot of that journey has been shaped by, I would say, 3 major experiences that really sort of cracked me open, really dark night of the soul energy, very Negredo phase of the alchemical transformation phase. Okay. First, I would say it would be probably betrayal trauma, going through a divorce after experiencing infidelity in my marriage, and having to figure out who I was outside of being someone's wife, who I was outside of the life that I thought I was building, who I was outside of the version of myself that I thought I was supposed to be. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, is grieving the life that you thought you were going to have. So betrayal trauma was a big one. And that was about 9 years ago. So I'm very, very good in that area. But that was one that sort of cracked my world open and helped me embark on my journey to self-discovery. The second thing would be relational trauma. And this is more so related to like family challenges and conflict. Having to recognize that the roles that I had been conditioned to play in my family, the roles, the patterns, recognizing the patterns that I had inherited, and just some of the ways that I essentially had to disconnect from myself in order to keep the peace or feel accepted or have some sort of sense of belonging. That sort of did a number on me, because when you can't be who you are, then you develop this persona and you operate in that persona, and it takes over your whole life, and that's a whole nother video. Anyway, the third thing I would say would be religious trauma. Growing up in church, being shaped by very specific doctrines and beliefs as it relates to God, being obedient to God or living righteously, and sort of all of the fear and shame that was produced within me as a result of that. And sort of coming to the realization after so many experiences that the God that I was given and that I was taught to believe in just sort of no longer resonated with me. And when you grow up religious, that is not something that is accepted very easily. So those experiences really affected me deeply. But they also fueled a lot of my curiosity around self-discovery, and it really catapulted me into this journey with my spirituality and understanding what life is when religion is no longer the cornerstone of your life. So I had a lot of deep questions. I really was trying to figure out who I am and what do I look like if I'm not operating out of a role that I was conditioned to operate in, or a wound, or a fear, or a belief system, or somebody else's expectation of me. Like, what's left when you peel all of that off, right? And it just got me very curious about a bunch of things. I started studying like human behavior. I am such a psychology enthusiast. I want to know why we behave the way we behave, why we act the way we act, how trauma can shape our life experiences, how it shapes us and our mental and emotional selves. So I started studying astrology. Like, it's a long story, child. But just wondering why we end up the way that we do, and how psychology and religion and faith and mental health and all the things sort of tie into that. And there you have the seeking and the deep feeling and deep thinking and meaning making that I mentioned earlier. There was a lot of uncertainty in life. When the rug has been pulled out from under you, it's a very destabilizing experience trying to figure out where you stand in your own life and what direction you should be going in. So that was how, something like The Hearth, that it's birthed from that place, if you understand what I'm saying, So aside from that, while on my journey, I love learning. So in 2018, I did become a Reiki master in the Usui Reiki Rojo method. And then in 2020, I went to school and became certified as an integrative healing arts practitioner through the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. And I also completed my clinical hypnotherapy certification through that program as well. And when I did my astrology apprenticeship, even though I've been studying astrology for like 8 years total, but I got more serious and did an apprenticeship in 2022, I think it was, or it may have been 2023 and 2024. It was a 2-year apprentice program, and so I did that with traditional astrology. But beyond the certifications and my studies, I'm really just a regular girl woman, because I'm 38, woman. I'm really just a regular woman, that is trying to understand myself better, understand life and my place in it, understand God or a higher power or the universe or whatever feels comfortable for you to call it, to understand that in a meaningful way that resonates with who I am truly and authentically, without the performance and the pretending and all of that stuff. So so that's where we are. So what can you expect to experience here, or what can you expect from me while you are spending your precious time with me in this space, the Hearth? It's going to be pretty much what I mentioned before, a lot of reflecting, me sharing my thoughts, be it spiritual. Sometimes I may be on a philosophical kick. Sometimes it may be, psychology influenced. It could be just some personal reflections, or it may be utilizing certain tools like astrology or tarot. We're talking about energy healing and crystals and Reiki. There's so many things, but it's an exploration, y'all. It's a journey. It's a time where we're just gonna gather. We're just gonna talk about different topics, and sometimes it's just like those days where you're just trying to figure out, what is life trying to tell me or teach me right now. And it, because I'm a mother too. There's so many aspects to me. But ultimately, this is going to be a safe and special place for that sort of exploration and cultivating ourselves and who we want to be. I do want to throw this caveat out there, though, okay? I want to be very clear that I am not a therapist. I don't claim to be a therapist. This space is not a replacement for therapy or medical care or any sort of professional mental health support. That is not what this is for, okay? I am just here as someone sharing from my lived experiences. That's the authority that I do have. The credentials I do have, okay, that you can bank on is my life experiences. And then, of course, my spiritual study and my integrative healing arts training. But I just have a sincere desire to create a space like this, and I want it to be communal, to share it with other people. So if that's you, I'm glad you're here, and welcome to the Hearth.